What if the biggest obstacle to your next season is not your age, but the story you keep telling yourself? The most influential leaders never stop growing. They never stop answering God's call to make a greater impact. Today, I sit down with the founders of EvolveMe to discuss career reinvention, overcoming the fear that it is too late, and why your years of experience may be your greatest advantage. If you're wondering whether this season is your opportunity to pursue a new dream, expand your influence, or make a greater impact, stay with us. Do you want to fully step into your calling and live out your God-inspired vision, but lack the right people and resources to help you? Hi, I'm Nicole Pride, personal branding strategist, leadership coach, and Christian. I learned the secret to advancing big leadership goals and attracting new opportunities is through intentionally elevating your personal brand. If you're ready to step into greater impact without losing your peace, then grab a protein bar, your iPad, and let's go. I am super delighted to have with us today Judy Schoenberg and Linda Lautenberg, who are the co-founders of EvolveMe, which is a professional growth company providing individual and group coaching for women in midlife career transition. They use their proven DARE method to help women in midlife achieve career reinvention. And so many of the women who've gone through their programs experience life-changing moments. They say that this is the best professional investment that they've ever made. And so that's why we're really excited to have them here with us today. You should also know, though, EvolveMe provides workshops, programming, and keynote addresses to companies invested in attracting and retaining top female talent. So with us today are Judy and Linda, and we're so happy because they are not only going to share their experiences and give you info about their services, they're also going to leave us with some tips today that can help you move forward as you're contemplating career reinvention. So welcome, Judy. Welcome, Linda.
Thanks so much, Nicole. It's great to be here. I am Judy.
Hi, and thanks, Nicole. We're excited to have this conversation with you today. I'm Linda.
Let's just delve in. Again, the women who are here are empty nester moms. They are looking at or reevaluating their lives, right? And they're deciding, hey, I want my life to be more purposeful. And so I think it would be helpful just for the ladies to hear where you two are in your lives. Judy, can you tell us about your stage in life right now?
Sure. I am a mom myself of two teenage boys, so I have that going on. And I had worked when I was raising them as in a nonprofit executive role for many years. And when I founded EvolveMe with Linda, we met at a startup, and we founded EvolveMe about 5 years, almost 5 years ago now. I had much younger children. They grow up so fast, right? And I also live close by to my parents. And at that time, my parents weren't experiencing the significant health issues that they are right now. My mother was recently diagnosed with a form of Parkinson's, and my father manages multiple health conditions. And so I live close by to them, and I've also kind of assumed the role with my sister, in a caretaking role, which I never imagined that I would be in before we started EvolveMe. So now I'm in the sandwich generation, and I, have kids that are still at home. I see college on the horizon for my older one. He'll be a junior in high school. And then I also have responsibilities around, caretaking for my parents, and especially living close by to them. I am very involved in that aspect of their lives, which is a beautiful thing. And I feel really lucky to have that role. And also really lucky that I reinvented my career 5 years, 6 years ago, with Linda, to become an entrepreneur, to give me the flexibility and autonomy I need to be able to have fulfilling work, but also manage my responsibilities in other parts of my life. So I'm so grateful that that my career took this change, or I changed it to be able to manage multiple things that I care about, multiple priorities.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome that you have that flexibility and freedom. And your lifestyle really supports what you need right now in your life. So, and I can relate. I have two boys myself. One's in college, one's in high school. My parents live with me. So I get it. And what about you, Linda? Where are you at this stage in your life?
So thanks, Nicole. So Judy and my career trajectories are very complementary, as are our life stages. So my background was in investment banking and finance, and that's what I did for about, I don't know, 10, 12 years at the beginning of my career. And then my career story involves a significant career break because we moved out of the city. We made a move for my husband's career. We made a family decision that I would step out of the workforce for a little while just to juggle because of the demands of his career. And so for a number of years, while I have three children, they're all spaced 3 years apart. And right now they're what? How old? 20, let's see, 26, 23, and 20. I don't know how they got that old. It's I only have one more still in college. So technically I have empty nested.
Yeah.
But so, so while I was raising them, I was doing a lot of significant work for volunteer organization, as a volunteer for different organizations, a lot of pro bono work. And when I saw my oldest getting ready to go to high school, that's when I really started thinking about empty nesting, right?
Mm,
I thought, oh my God, this first one is leaving.
yeah.
The next two are soon to follow. I'm slowly working my way out of this full-time mom role. And,
Yeah.
what about the career that I left behind? What about me? And is it too late to try
Mm-hmm.
to reclaim that? And so that's when I started working my way back into the workforce. I joined a startup with Judy, met her there, and then later we launched EvolveMe. But where I am now is I've got one in college, two out of college, but one had moved all the way to California and is now back in my house.
Okay.
I remember having this conversation with Judy, or motherhood is has such a significant impact, and as well as all kinds of caregiving, including parents and everything, on women's careers. And I remember talking to Judy when her boys were younger and mine were high school, college, and saying, I know it seems like it's more work now because they're less independent, but the funny thing is when they become more independent, somehow they need you more or in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like being a mother never really ends. And you're kind of all along in that trajectory. And
Yeah.
it always is somehow, impacting it's part of your life and your career.
Yeah, you never stop being a mom, right? And for me, as I mentioned, I have one in high school and then one in college, and I'm really digging this relationship now with my oldest in
Yeah.
college. Like the dynamics have changed. And so yes, I do feel that I am still needed, not just for the times that he reaches out for money, but but as he's contemplating career choices and relationships and all that, I'm really excited about this part of parenting. It's different.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, Linda, when you took your career break, was that like at the very beginning when you were expecting, or like how old was your oldest when you
Sure.
took
So
this
my
break?
oldest was only 2. We moved
Okay.
out of Manhattan to New Jersey. And my husband's career was just like demanding at a level where he had zero flexibility.
Right.
And so I thought I would take what was a year or two break or,
Mm.
2 or 3, and then it spun out to 16 years.
Yeah.
So I just kind of got into a routine. I think, it had to do with the community that I lived in, that was more the norm. I think that you get comfortable once you step out and you get
Mhm.
busy, and, time will always fill up. And women have a really hard time putting themselves at the top of their list. And that certainly was the case for me. And I loved being, a full-time mom,
Mhm.
but it was really hard to work your way out of it. It's a whole mindset shift to all of a sudden starting to think about yourself as an individual who has her own career, who has her own life, as opposed to, being the mom. And so I did spend a number of years in that role, and I loved it. But I think if I was to do it over again, and I think now with remote work and things being options, I would have probably found a way to keep my hand in a little more.
Mhm.
That being said, the experience that I had on that career break, and all the things that I learned, and the different skills I developed from my different volunteer efforts and organizations, were very, very different than anything I did in my investment banking career. And all those skills are what I'm able to use now
Right.
in EvolveMe.
Yeah, no doubt. And so
So,
I love the fact that you both have different experiences, because our audience, the experiences
Mhm.
run the gamut. And one of the things that I emphasize, everyone, all moms made the best choices that they could make
mhm,
for them and their families. And so
yep,
as we look forward, we don't look back with regret. The past
Right.
is the past, and we made the best choices in that time, and it's fine. And it's just now at this stage in life where we have the opportunity to say, hey, what does the next chapter look
Mhm.
like? So I
mhm.
think it's pretty cool and exciting time for empty nester moms, in particularly. So that said, you guys are specialists in career reinvention. So let's just level set for everyone. Because I think, when I hear career reinvention, I think, I can totally just go into a different field than, where, what a different field than what I spent in the last like 20 years or something.
Mhm.
And I think also some people may think, oh, well, it's more like a refresh or
Mhm.
rebranding or something like that. So tell me, what is it that you mean by career reinvention?
Sure. I mean, I think it's everything that you said, and also like anything in between those things. So
Yes.
for the women that we work with, some of them come in with ideas of, yes, like totally changing, careers. Some want to make like a 10% pivot from what they were doing and really leverage their skills in a new way, or become more updated, like in the field that they're in. Some want to go from a corporate role maybe they've had in the past to becoming an entrepreneur, or developing a side hustle, or even preparing for like, the last job that they'll have before retirement. So it's really, it means different things to different people depending on their circumstances and the experiences that they've had in the past. I think at the bottom line is that it means, how does this time, how can you use this time to align your work and your life with your values and who you are now, whoever you are now, not the you from 5 years ago, from 10 years ago, from 15 years ago. What's important to you now, and what kind of work and lifestyle will feel like most fulfilling to you now. And, there's so many different routes that you can take. The common denominator is that people, kind of want to evolve, right? That's why we're called EvolveMe. They want to evolve, and be maybe a better version of themselves, whatever that means to them, though. So it's like very individualized. There's no like one size fits all. And it's like what's personally meaningful to them, like what kind of work would bring them joy, what lights them up, just how do their values like play into their work. For many years, I couldn't be a mom at work. I couldn't bring that identity to the
Mhm.
workplace. So it's like, how do you bring your whole self
Mhm.
now, into your work, and what's fulfilling to you? I think that's, at its best, that's what career reinvention is. It doesn't have to be this grand change, right? It doesn't always have to mean like going into, I thought that I was going to make a big pivot, like totally different field. And then I was like, hold on a second. I've spent, 2 decades like in the field of women's leadership development and research. Like I love working with people too. Like how do I leverage my research skills to work more directly with people to help, them love the jobs that, that they have more, or craft kind of roles for themselves that will be really fulfilling. And I didn't have to make that wholesale change. I was able to leverage the transferable skills that I had, and apply them in new ways. So again, like we have a method for career reinvention that is kind of industry agnostic, and it's like there's like overarching themes too, like no matter like where you find yourself, that and I don't know if Linda, if you want to go into talking about the DARE method, but there's commonalities in our experience, and having this method to ground you in your reinvention will give you the steps and the process to do it, no matter, what kind of scenario you end up in, whether it's, again, like the side hustle or the entrepreneurship or the, back to full-time work.
Mhm.
So yeah, the method works.
And so you said so much that I just want to underscore a bit. And so before Linda, before you hop in about the services and offerings, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to invite you to, because here within our community, we look at our whole selves from a biblical perspective, and believing that you have a divine purpose, that you're
Mhm.
created with intention, right? So it's our belief that you know that you were given special gifts, right? And you have certain inclinations and things that are unique to you. And so you can't divorce that from, I believe, from your career and how you show up in the world.
Right.
So I think the work that you do is just super awesome, because you're helping women discover what it is about themselves that's unique, that's special, and how they can shine, right? And I think
Yes.
that's very spiritual on a on a practical level.
Yeah.
That's just very spiritual. So I'm just like really jazzed up about it. So so okay, Linda. So now you have someone that says, hey, yeah, I want to reinvent my career, and they approach you guys. What's the process like? What's the experience like?
Yeah, so I love what you said about really thinking about what's unique and special and your own special gifts. And that is very spiritual, and it is very it's very special, and it's kind of the core of the way that we work. Is we always say that career reinvention really has to happen from the inside out. So
Mm,
that's, Judy mentioned our DARE method of career reinvention. So we really believe in starting from the inside. So it's the DARE method stands for discover, amplify, refresh, and embark. And
mhm,
it's called DARE because you have to be brave and willing to do this kind of work. But the discovery part is so vital, because it really starts you in on thinking, doing the hard work of thinking about what really lights you up now. Like Judy said, not you 20 years ago, not you 30 years ago, or even 5 years ago, but right now. What
mhm,
has you excited? What gives you flow? What skills that what tasks that when you're doing them, you just kind of lose track of time? And do
mm,
some really good thinking about that, and thinking about, what do people come to you for? What are your special strengths? What do people come to you for? What do you feel naturally good at? So often women will just, if there's something that is easy for them, they'll think that that's not special, but that's not the case. If it's easy for you, it is hard for somebody else, that's one of your special gifts. So really delving into that. And what are your values? Values are really important. If your values aren't aligned with the work you're doing, it's never going to work. So
Right.
really delving into that. And then we move on to the amplify section, which is getting that confidence. Women are, we all hear about imposter syndrome. The more accomplished the woman, the more imposter syndrome is sitting on your shoulder, right?
Yeah.
So since the work that we do is all in groups, a lot of times that really helps. Like the most important thing is to identify the imposter syndrome and then working through it in groups and see yourself mirrored in other women. I know you do work in groups as well, and it's just a really great way to work through some of those confidence issues. And
Mhm.
once you've done that inner work, then we go into refresh, which is your LinkedIn profile, your resume, your personal brand.
Right.
And then embark, which is all outward facing. So working from the inside out, to embark, which is networking strategies, interviewing skills, and things like that. But it's that inner work, that identifying your unique value proposition that you're
Right.
talking,
Mhm.
that's where you really need to start.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. That's awesome. And so, okay, this is great. And so you gave some tip. First of all, too, I just want to underscore too, I love the concept of evolving, right? Because I believe that as long as you're alive,
Mhm.
that you're given an invitation to grow and go higher and to change. And again, just from a spiritual perspective, I think that God is so big that there's new opportunities that are being presented to us all the
Mhm.
time
All the time.
that we sometimes miss if we're so distracted. So, new opportunities to connect with people, to engage in a different way, right? And so, I think that the work that you're doing is helping people be more aware and thoughtful
Yeah.
and in tune with themselves and their surroundings, so that can help them get to their next level. So I love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay. So I think you talked about this a little bit, but some of your motivations for doing this is a lot to do with your own experience, I would say. That's what initially started it. But do you want to go into that a little deeper, Judy, maybe?
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I was at an organization, a nonprofit for 15 years, and I saw 50 like out on the horizon, and I decided to take a leap and leave because I knew I had a next chapter or two or three in me. And I left, and then I was like, wow, okay, like what's my identity now? How do I figure this out? I, Googled a lot, but you can't really just like Google your way into a career, reinvention. There's a lot of resources for women on like maternity leave, like going back into the workforce, but not so much for, women 40 plus, like looking to really, transform in their careers. And it's really hard to do this on your own. It's very
Mhm.
isolating to sit, especially if you feel like you're having some kind of identity shift, to like
Mhm.
sit alone and try to figure this out. Like how often does it, do people sit down and say like, okay, I'm going to write down what my strengths are, like what my accomplishments are. Like it's not intuitive, and it's not, um, it doesn't necessarily come natural in the flow of your day to be doing that kind of deep work. And so I was really craving a community where I knew there were other women out there like me, like-minded women, but I didn't know, where they were. I put out some feelers to friends, like if you come across anything, and um, stumbled upon, the startup where Linda and I met. We were each doing a fellowship there for women returning to the workforce and social impact, and having that community really really helped a lot. We wound up actually running the fellowship program that we were both in. And I think that, my motivation was, I want to make this easier for women. I had such a hard time and kind of did some freelance work, but felt like I was spinning my wheels. And I felt like if I could pay it forward at all to make this road easier for women who have a next chapter in them, who are talented, who are motivated, who are, you know, ambitious, whatever, you know, that looks like to you. If I could make it easier for them, like that's what I want my mission to be, because I feel like otherwise we're you know, all this talent and all these contributions that women could be making is just going unseen and unvalued. And like, I couldn't really sit with that. I couldn't feel good, you know, knowing that that was happening. And so even if I could contribute to that and, you know, in the smallest way or the biggest way, that's one of the main motivations for starting EvolveMe, that yeah, we believe in the power of women coming together to do this work. And we do have you know, a branch of our work that's one-on-one coaching, but the group coming together and being inspired by each other's wins and, you know, seeing things in each other that you're not ready to see for yourself, like that's the magic. So I was really motivated to have our own community, you know, of women that we could belong to too, and then obviously support. So every time we have a new cohort, it feels like just another community that Linda and I can tap into too, to really be inspired, because we are so inspired by the women we work with.
And then Linda, so right, you guys are 5 years in now, correct?
Almost, yeah.
And what number cohort?
So we are in our 10th cohort now.
Oh, wow.
So
Congratulations.
we're in our 10th cohort, and we have really significantly also expanded the work that we do for women in companies as well, because if you are already working someplace and you can love the work that you're doing more,
Already.
then maybe you can find that our mission there is to help women find their purpose or their joy in the work that they're doing now, so that they don't necessarily have to make the full pivot.
Is there a certain amount of seats available in your cohort, or is it unlimited? How does that work?
We keep each group intentionally small, so we keep them to about 15 women. And once we get beyond that, or if we're, there's been a couple times where we oversold, but we had enough to make 2 and we ran 2 concurrently. But we like to keep them pretty intimate, just because we really want people to come and bring their authentic self to work. And it's like a very, just a very close environment.
No, I can definitely understand that. The same with I mentioned that we're offering our 1-day intensives. And so we're intentionally keeping that small too, small environment, so that everyone can get the attention and feel comfortable. So there's definitely a lot of power in the small groups. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So did you have any motivations that you wanted to highlight that really gave you the energy and drive to create this environment?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing was that when I did hit that point where all of a sudden my oldest was getting ready to go to college, I started having this panicky feeling like, wait a minute. I used to be this high achiever, and it wasn't, and I loved the kind of work. I was doing some great work, but I wasn't getting compensated for it. And I was like, you know what? I need to pull back and have a career for myself. And I was really scared that it was too late. I was really scared. And I thought nobody should have to feel that way, because women's, like you said, there's no apologies. There's no looking back. We make the decisions that we make, but it shouldn't ever be too late for anyone, whether they've been staying in the same role that they've been in for 20 or 30 years, because even though it wasn't that fulfilling, but it worked for their family, or, women do all kinds of different things, but it never, ever, ever has to be too late. And I can't believe that at 50, I thought maybe it was, because that was a long time ago. So, so that was one motivator, that I just thought that, like, if I felt like that, I didn't want anybody ever to feel that way again. And that realization that even with a career break, that all those skills I'd amassed during the break, honestly, I turned them into a new career.
Yeah.
And just that kind of thought process. And I always And it kind of doesn't matter. I think women do this anyway. They think so much about the choices they've made. Judy's heard me tell this story a million times, but I remember being at a business school reunion, and every woman in the room was apologizing either for the fact that she hadn't started a family yet because she'd been focused on her career, or that she was working, but her children were in daycare, or that she gave up her career temporarily to raise her children or help with her parents. But everybody was apologizing for something. And
Mhm.
what instead needs to happen is to take a step back and think about what you're learning and growing, no matter what decision you've made, and then bring all of that forward into whatever next chapter you want to have. Because whatever you've been doing all along, you have been evolving and changing and growing as a person. And that's all led up to all that value that you have to offer now. But it's so easy to get caught up in, I'm too old, it's too late, the ship,
Yeah.
the train has left the station, and so we don't ever, both Judy and I, we never want anybody to feel that way, because it's just not true. And we don't want to leave, as a society, leave all that value on the table.
Right. I mean, that's really the main motivator for me doing what it is that I do, is that idea that life is over, it's too late. And the regret, living in regret, or as you even brought up just now, guilt,
Yeah.
and it just holds you back. And I actually did a post fairly recently. Oh, by the time this airs, it won't be as recent. It was July, but and it's just this whole concept about, being considered a late bloomer or out of season. And if so many people responded to it, I mean, because it really hit home, for so many women. And so anyway, I'm just so glad that what you're doing and what I'm trying to do is encourage women to just seize the moment that they're in now, seize the season that they're in.
And I think that
Um,
we're having a season too, like in terms of like women in midlife and
I
women,
think,
like I think that I love what you're doing because, you're addressing this, this age segment that we are too, that anything is possible, right? And, now more than ever, like even since we started Evolve Me, women in midlife are having a moment, and there's a lot of it, I think, attention on us to be able to like achieve our dreams, and that it's not like too late. So it's great that you're, helping to push that momentum forward.
thank you. And I think women feel like that a
Yeah.
lot, particularly women who are in corporate, is because of ageism, There's different messages being sent that after 40-ish somewhere, maybe 45, maybe it's because the consumer market is always looking at
Right.
18 to 45-year-olds and their research, and they're developing marketing campaigns for 18 to 45. And so there's this feeling that you've hit your ceiling because they want to hire younger. So just tell me, both of you, what are your thoughts on that? How do you combat that? Is this real or imagined? And if it is real, what advice do you give women to helping position themselves as valuable contributors, in the workplace?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, it's definitely real, but I know one of the first things that we tell women to think about is, what's the ageism that's going on inside themselves?
Ah,
Like, what are they telling themselves? Because
right.
a lot of times, before anybody else tells you you're too old or what have you, it's thoughts that you're having inside yourself. So if you can approach your future with a possibilities mindset, that it is never too old to learn whatever it is that you wanted to do next, to upskill, to try something new. And that goes into your personal life too, as well as, like, if you're always learning new things and trying new things in your personal life as well, that all will keep you like younger minded, and
Mm,
that will carry on into your career as well. But that's one of the first things we tell women is, what are you telling yourself before you
mhm.
start worrying about what other people are saying, right, Judy?
Yeah. and to be able to show that you're adaptable, like what Linda was saying, like to have that growth mindset that you can, adapt and grow and take on new skills, at every age and stage, and to be able to communicate that to future employers. I was talking to a woman yesterday who wasn't having much luck, like putting her resume into like the ATS systems, and felt like she was getting rejected because they're going to know that she's 62. And then she went on to tell me, like, she had this career in marketing, and like how she had really embraced AI and like all the digital marketing tools. And I was like, you need to talk about that. Like, you
Right.
need to just, show that you are up to date, that you're relevant, that you can grow, that you can change. And, we know, like, especially in the last few years, like after the pandemic, being adaptable and being able to pivot and adjust to, the changing needs of the landscape, is so important. And
Mm.
so, we're also encouraged, by the fact that, once you get to midlife, right, you have a certain set of skills and experiences and perspectives that can only be gained over time. So,
Yes.
and a lot of those skills we like to call them power skills, the leadership skills, the communication skills, the conflict resolution skills, the problem solving skills. That
Mhm.
takes those take years to hone, right? So the more you emphasize those kinds of skills that you have, like you're not feeling like you're competing necessarily with the younger generation, because it takes time, right,
Mm.
to build those skills, and you have an asset that,
Sounds counsel.
yes,
Mhm.
Wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly, right. And it's undervalued, right? But it's I think that it really helps when you kind of can frame it in a positive light, and that goes into like the mindset, as Linda was telling everybody, like the mindset that you bring to the skills that you do have, and how you talk about them, and how they become part of who you are, and how you own them, own your value, can make the world's difference to combating ageism.
The
Agreed.
things, the skills that give women pause, like they're not tech savvy, or they're worried that they're not up to date. Those are all things that you can go online and take a course and upskill on those. The other skills can't be taught in a classroom. You
Right,
have to
right.
earn them over time.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually like to think of midlife as really being a competitive advantage. It's just a matter of, like Judy said, how you come out and frame it and own your
Mhm.
skills and sell them.
That's right. Excellent. So for people in our audience now who are saying, oh, I am super curious now about Evolve Me, how can they find you? How can they work with you?
Yeah.
What's the next step?
The next step, well, head to our website, which is evolveme.work. And there you will find information about the Reinvention Collective cohorts we've been talking about. There's a button there. You can sign up for the wait list so you can get up-to-date information about the next one. We also have a suite of services if you'd like to try us out and work with us one-on-one, before maybe committing to the group experience. There's opportunities for that as well. And there's so many free resources and downloads where if you want to get started, one of our most popular resources, really to get started on this inner work, is the Get Going Guide for career reinvention, and that you can download that, as well as pick and choose from all that exists there.
Mhm.
And we also, for anybody who's working in a company and wants to bring some of our services and tools to their workplace, there's also a page that is specifically for corporate workshops, and you can learn more about that there. And email us, right? We love to be in touch with people. You can find us, Linda at EvolveMe.work and Judy at EvolveMe.work, and we hang out on LinkedIn. That's our social media platform. And so you can also connect with us there. That's a great resource for you as well, because we do post a lot.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for stopping by and all the great info. Any final words that either of you would like to leave with our audience before we leave?
No, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much, Nicole. And good luck with your intensive that you're having in the fall and all your
Thank
group
you.
work. It sounds like, something really beautiful that you've created.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you very much. And so, yes, with that, there's the one-on-one private coaching. We have 1 day intensives where you roll up your sleeve and it's just that, it's an intensive, but you walk away with the strategy for your life. And then also, we have group coaching that's launching in September. So there you have it. Thank you. So
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much.
We
This was
will
great.
be cheering you on. So thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Hey, ambitious leader, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share with another leader who you want to encourage? Also, please leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. I just get so energized to know this podcast is helping you. Okay, I'm going to take one step today to let my leadership shine. What about you? God willing, meet you back next week for another episode.